Well, hello, that's me again. Today is June 1st, 2024. It is Saturday, and I'll be doing this today with coffee. You see, I made myself a 20-ounce latte. This is the best latte you can get in, in the area. I'm joking, of course. Let's start with the news. And I want to stress again, many people probably already know this, but periodically, especially for people who for the first time discover my channel, as I already stated, the idea was to give them more kind of broad lectures on the geopolitics, strategy, and maybe some technologies. But as you understand now, the special military operation and events overtook us, and I have to constantly make also political commentaries. But let's start with the commentaries today, because we cannot avoid doing this. And I'm not talking about the verdict against Mr. Trump. We know what's going to happen with the United States after that. Plus, minus, it depends. So I'm not going to be speculating, but we'll talk about this later. But let's start with this. She's a very, devoted feminist. I mean, look at her. And she decided, as Guardian reports yesterday, and as you can see yourself, she discovered this thing. Men and other mammals live longer if they are castrated, says researcher. Her name is Kat Bohannon. People say that she is absolutely fanatical feminist. So because obviously, when you come up with this type of the research, guess what? Kat Bohannon, the celebrated author of Eve, How the Female Body Drove 200 Million Years of Human Evolution, said men went through life smuggling two little death nuggets, with research suggesting an what horrendous word, some kind of orchiectomy can lend a few more precious years. And remarkably, the research of this imbecile is actually great, because it explains a lot of things about what we observe right now in terms of the politics in the combined West. They have no gonads. They probably went through this operation because obviously they are, well, guess what? They want to live longer. But because they don't have gonads, they are ready to, scare the hell out of people with their fluffy rhetoric and aggressive rhetoric. And people do not understand that all of it, which is, I will not get tired repeating it, about this escalation, which we call, nothing really escalated, guys. That's the issue which many people do not understand. Even Mr. Lavrov yesterday states that, all this rhetoric, what's the big deal that they will allow, those missiles being used on the Russia proper? They already have been using it for a year at least. So all this is designed for the domestic consumption, to keep people in the hysterical mode, to basically obscure everything what is happening in the election cycle in the United States. And then, of course, if you look at the Western politicians, from who to all those European leaders, they don't have gonads. They want to have those new few years, precious years, but as you understand, they're not gonna start World War III. They're basically support, so to speak, of Ukraine. It's all tied to this coming funny peace conference in Switzerland, where Mr. Zelensky will be, well, denied the entrance to NATO, and it is all for the PR purposes. But just to demonstrate to you that what we are dealing with, one of my wonderful visitors to my blog, he posted this. It's from the X, as you can see yourself, this illustration of the German magazine Signal from 1943, the moment of solution, representing the European continent with the Axis armies, among which is the Spanish Blue Division, marching to the Eastern Front to fight the Soviet Union, as the Spanish, Italian, French, Danish, Hungarian, Croatian, Slovak, Romanian, Norwegian, Finnish, and German armies head towards the horizon. A column of smoke rises from the front area where the fighting is taking place. Obviously, he, whatever his name, Tolstoy, he gives a wrong number of the Hitler Axis armies. It was in excess of 4 million, but it's a great illustration. Look at this. Don't you recognize it? Today, this is what is happening today. pretty much it, so, and this is the repetition of the history. And yes, you have those armies. Well, at that time at least they had gonads. Today we obviously do not have people who have enough courage and say that and call the BS about all this fluffy rhetoric and explain the background of it. Well, some do, most don't. So they probably have those, desire to have those precious few years more. But I would want to, so to speak, calm down all those emotions. Almost some of them are bordering on hysteria. Guys, nothing new happens what wasn't happening before that. Basically, as I already stated, Russian territory is being attacked by American weapons, ATACMS, and it has been attacked by, Scalpel and Storm Shadow missiles. So nothing changes. And I'm not talking about those territories they do not consider Russian, of those 4 new provinces or oblasts, which joined Russia proper. No, we're talking about Crimea, which historically is Russian, and we're talking about such places as Belgorod, Kursk, or what have you. So they were attacked many times by all those weapons. So all this funny talk about Biden allowing to use it, but only to limit it to the border regions and things of this nature, it is all PR for you guys to consume and worry. This is classic FUD, because obviously the victory is already happened there, military. We are now in the basically phase of the arrangements, how the arrangements will go. And they will go obviously on Russian conditions. So just to demonstrate to you what is happening, Mr. Belousov, new Russian defense minister, yesterday, 10 attacks fired by Kiev were intercepted by air defenses, Andrei Belousov has said. The Russian military this week repelled Kiev's largest missile attack yet on the strategic Crimean bridge, Defense Minister Andrei Belousov has said. And speaking at a meeting of defense ministers of the Collective Security Treaty Organization in Kazakhstan on Friday, the defense chief said Ukraine had fired 10 US supply attacks at the bridge on Wednesday night. All missiles were shot down. As a result, hundreds of lives were saved. So, for people who continue to believe their Ukrainian propaganda and Western propaganda, for example, about this allegedly S-400 being destroyed in Donetsk, it's fake. It already have been debunked by professionals. Don't ask me, you can check it. That is why you don't have many more shots of it. It's fake. It was taken from the basically concocted within the video editor, including the shots from the, guess what, computer game. And we already have been before in this position, didn't we? Haven't we? You remember obviously the shots of the Russian planes being shot down by the Ghost of Kiev, later to be explained that actually it was a computer game. So by now nobody even, bothers with explaining this, because if you go now and take a look what is happening on the front and why there is so much hysteria in the Western media and elsewhere, take a look at the data for yesterday. Losses, as you can see yourself, now we have there for today, essentially, well, yesterday, 1,877 killed and wounded. So as I already stated, you can easily multiply it by 2, because this is provided by Russian Defense Ministry, which doesn't count something or somebody they don't see. The tactical rear is absolutely dismantled in Ukraine, and plus, many of them, they shoot themselves. So you can easily multiply this number by 2. And this is yet again, the whole brigade is taken out of the action. And we have 7 tanks and APCs blown up, armored vehicles 23, artillery and mortars 15. So UAVs, as you can see yourself, Russians shoot them down, daily, very many of them. Yet another plane, I believe it was MiG-29, was shut down. So, and if that hasn't been enough, and we already see this talk about, oh yeah, we're gonna deliver those F-16s, and even the, early warning aircraft, the AVAX, if you wish, from Sweden. That is why Russians, you can look it up in the news, moved S-500 closer to the line of the combat contact. S-500 has the range of 600 kilometers plus, so good luck for those Swedish AVACs if they ever appear in Ukraine, do anything. And again, people who still think that, oh, okay, they can use the jump runways in the, for example, Rzeszów in Poland and in Romania, and then, go to the some airfield in Ukraine, pretending that they are not anymore the whatever NATO aircraft. I have news for them. Mr. Putin and Mr. Lavrov and many others have been very much on, basically on record. And no, they will not demolish those airfields in Ukraine. The strikes will be on depending on the circumstances, obviously. I'm not going to be getting into the neck of the woods about it, but they will be on the airfields in Poland and in Romania. For anybody who talks about now the Article 5 and NATO, Russia doesn't care. Of course, Russians understand very clearly that United States would love nothing more than a real big conventional war. Well, you cannot do conventional war with NATO, the big one, because it will be defeated. But they wouldn't mind even nuclear conflict. But the point is, obviously, United States wants to sit this out. The problem is, of course, the only nuclear attack which could be conducted by NATO independently is France. United States understand if anything nuclear flies towards Russia, Washington is gone, together with a number of critical points in the United States. For starters, for the warm-up. By the way, Russians have their anti-ballistic missile systems, which are United States not even in the same league there. So, but the point is that it's very a dubious proposition from the point of view in the United States, and the only thing they can do is go into this hysteria mode, and they are children. Some of them, obviously, without gonads, who are throwing the tantrum. And that is why we have this constant flow of this news, so to speak, while in reality, of course, situation pretty much is the same. The only thing they are trying to, as I already stated, conduct in terms of the more attention towards this so-called peace conference in Switzerland and cover up the complete strategic defeat of NATO in Ukraine. As I already stated, we are now in arrangement phase, and how Russia will dictate her conditions, what she's gonna take, and what is going to happen with what will be remaining of Ukraine. So, and you saw yourself, I already showed you this horrendous losses. And there it goes, so just to buttress my point, so to speak. And this is what Russians say. I mean, US-made weapons already used in attempted attacks on Russia, Moscow. Russia is aware that US-made weapons are already being used in attempted strikes on Russian territory. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told journalists on Friday, stating that this is proof of Washington's involvement in the Ukraine conflict. So, and yeah, it's like a repetition of the same old, so, and they reuse, they recycle those points within the combined West, as already stated, for the domestic consumptions. Russians say, yeah, what's the news, really? I mean, but that's what they do. So if that hasn't been enough, they understand that the situation in Volchansk, however, if you take a look, is critical for the whole northern grouping. As you can see yourself in red, all those bridges over Volcha River, which is actually means the Wolf River. It's not very wide, but the problem is if you don't have bridges, you cannot deliver supplies and support the grouping which is entrenched into the basically urban environment. So that's it for them. So yeah, they already are surrounded pretty much, and just a matter of mopping them up. And then the rest of the Volchansk. So these are bad news. The new villages fall every day there. And now, if that hasn't been enough, we have this situation. Even CNN reports that soldiers in Ukraine say US supplied tanks have made them targets for Russian strikes. Really? I thought they would be given a free pass, and they do whatever they want to do. Of course they are targets. In fact, is they are really, hide them now in the tactical rear, because the moment any Abrams appears, it's dead. And it doesn't matter what kind of armor it will carry. As you can see yourself, even Ukrainians complain that its armor is not sufficient for this moment, said one crew member, call sign Joker. It doesn't protect the crew. For real, today this is the war of drones. So now, when the tank rolls out, they always try to hit them. Oh yeah, the number of the Abrams have been demolished, and it doesn't matter what kind of the reactive armor or whatever they put on it. There are already photos of some Abrams in Ukraine, being equipped with some kind of the additional armor, reactive armor. So, well, yeah, sure, wouldn't make any difference whatsoever, because, even if it works somehow, there are all other means, including such things as Krasnopol laser-guided munitions, which can fly and very accurate, or Lancets, or any other drones, or you can always use the drones in tandem, and so they have no protection. As already stated, this tank is not designed for the modern war. Russian tanks are, but this is not. And if that hasn't been enough, if the flow of the bad news wasn't, good enough, we have now this situation. So it's Financial Times. And they have admitted now that NATO has only 5% of air defense required to defend eastern flank. Air defense is a major part of the plan to defend Eastern Europe from invasion, a NATO diplomat told Financial Times. And right now we don't have that. Well, this diplomat, obviously, he probably also don't have gonads, because he cannot produce any truthful statement, because anybody who is anybody in NATO dealing with the real operational and strategic planning, not that it's good, it sucks, honestly, but at least many of them, they know Russia is not going to invade. Why the hell would Russia want to invade Eastern Europe? To do what? Get 40 million Polacks on Russia's balance? Pardon me, Europe is going down industrially and economically, and they have to endure whatever they want to endure now. And the only normal people who are there are obviously Hungarians and Slovaks. They understand what's going on there, and eventually we can see them, breaking off in the long run from the European Union, because the European Union is over economically. I understand people don't like to hear it, but European Union, as that, researchers suggested, had its gonads removed. It is the puppet, if you wish, of United States, and it will die the way United States wants it to die, and it's doing this just that. It's dying. So, and when you look at this whole situation, it's like, really? And if that hasn't been enough, and we all know that actually there was a, how to put it politely, not purge, the mopping up of the Russian Defense Ministry. And again, there is a lot of speculation. I do not speculate. I'm waiting for the decision of the court. But as you understand that the journalists, including many Russian journalists, they're not normal people. They are not professionals. I every day brings up the new pearls of wisdom, so to speak, quote unquote, from them. And of course, as you might expect, with those people in Russian Defense Ministry being taken into custody by people who are very serious, counterintelligence obviously was developing quote unquote, and following them for years. Actually, it wasn't just like yesterday, they suddenly recognized something. And this is not how operative services work, and including investigative committee. And we now have to wait for this decision of the court. But many people do not understand. It wasn't inside Defense Ministry. All those organizations with the exception of the military counterintelligence, which although military also is actually part of FSB. They have been doing their job. And there is no, in this case, justification of BS, actually. This is BS, that somehow there are different factions in Russian Defense Ministry which fight each other. And no, 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 no. This is not how it works, guys. And again, people who spread that type of the speculation, they obviously do not understand how, for example, Russian Defense Ministry operates, what is its central apparatus, what role General Staff is playing there, and other services there. So, in this case, we have to just say, wait and see, what the court will come up with, and then we'll make a decision. And pretty much because it talks about the very high level position people, we will not know many details. So, and don't forget, we still have to keep in mind that there are many issues which we do not discuss, but they are there, which are connected to this death cult, which was called Wagner, and it's the criminal head of Mr. Prigozhin. So, and that is related, believe me. So now, if things weren't bad enough, and again, that's why I brought up this issue of the defense ministry, Russian defense ministry. Well, guess what? Americans want to follow Russians. Look at that. Retired four-star admiral charged with accepting bribes for contracts. Well, color me surprised. Okay, a former U.S. Navy Vice Chief of Naval Operations was arrested Friday on charges that he accepted bribes to steer government contracts to a company in exchange for a future job while still in service, Justice Department official announced in a statement. Retired Navy Admiral Robert Burke, 62, of Coconut Creek, Florida. He has been taken in custody. And when you read this story, it's just really, how to put it politely. Burke, who has served aboard attack and ballistic missile submarines, I believe he was commanding officer of one of the boomers, rose through the ranks to eventually become 40th Vice Chief of Naval Operations in June 2019, before taking command of U.S. Naval Forces Europe, Africa, and Allied Joint Forces Command in June 2020. At the meeting with one of these companies, which is called, they called it Company A, the charged defendants allegedly agreed that Burke would use his position as a Navy admiral to steer a sole source contract to Company A in exchange for future employment at the company, the Justice Department said. Well, guess what? Nothing changes. This is very common. You think so in Russia they don't do this? Of course they do. Although now it's very dangerous to do so in Russia, but here it is, in the United States, same thing, So, and people which are outside of the, Pentagon, in this particular case, Department of Justice, most likely FBI, they knew that the guy was actually playing with his position, and he was, expecting rewards. That's corruption, guys. So, and any normal society which doesn't fight corruption is dead. Well, these are the signs that evidently some, at least people, doing their job. And if that hasn't been enough, we also have this admission of Bloomberg. And again, listen, we have been through this. You already saw the type of the losses they sustain. So they report yesterday that Ukraine is running short of people. Drain on manpower emerging as main concern among businesses. Conscription, exodus shrink workforce by more than a quarter. I think so the number is actually larger than a quarter, and from what is coming out of Ukraine, and let me put it this way, it is heartbreaking. Listen, I have no reasons to love Ukrainians or, especially those people who are brainwashed and, willing to kill Russians. But the news which are coming out, including videos, they are even actually now drafting, removing from the home, and despite all efforts, they throw them on the front line. And I saw the video; it's heartbreaking. The kid is Oligofran, and Oligofran is just retarded. This is a nice-looking kid actually, but his mother tries to, hug him and kiss him while he's being taken away, and the kid doesn't even understand what is going on. And these are the people they are sending on the front line. But it is indeed heartbreaking because the kid is just basically cannot afford it. He will be killed. And he will not even understand what he will be doing. And if that hasn't been enough, you now have this situation that RIA reports, and this is the level, this is the only thing they can do. An American instructor in Ukraine, as you can see yourself yesterday, revealed the terrible details of military training. The military training, well, there is a lot of things which is absolutely irrelevant. I don't think so anybody from Pentagon can train anything. They already tried for 2.5 years. They got their asses handed to them. They are not good in operational and strategic planning. But so, yeah, they constantly send all those American instructors, and look what they do. Western military training techniques are aimed at making them enjoy killing. Retired U.S. Armed Forces Lieutenant Colonel Davis Grossman told Ukrainian TV channel First Western. On the basis of modern means of training, I mean simulators and targeting at the object, we made killing the enemy a conditioned reflex, he said. According to the American officer, modern training allows the soldier to do his job, after which, in his opinion, the soldier will experience the joy of killing the enemy. Yeah, this is the classic American approach to the training of the personnel, dehumanizing them and dehumanizing the enemy. And that is why they do not understand what is going on and how Russians fight. And but if you look at it, if you remember My Lai Village, if you remember what was happening in Vietnam, if you remember Abu Ghraib, yeah, they basically trained a psychopath. The problem, of course, is, they are not really that good at fighting a real enemy, especially when you cannot call immediately the close air support. And so this will continue, this trend will continue to basically training those people into some kind of, I do not want to use the word, killing machine, because it's kind of misnomer, really. But what I want to say, this is the nature of the Western world, to dehumanize themselves and dehumanize their enemy and turn the killing into the joy. And this is why they are no good as soldiers. Well, they are good to kill some, bomb some outhouse in the Iraqi desert. They are good at killing the weddings in Afghanistan. But when they encounter the serious enemy who shoots back, and they have actually the Ukraine and the armed forces of Ukraine, which is the best proxy West ever had. And guess what? I think so. The picture I showed you in the beginning of those forces, which are Nazi forces essentially, Axis forces marching of Russia, this is what is happening. Guess what? We know the result, right? And you have to keep this result in mind. And they are now frustrated to the point of panicking. And let me tell you, they panic. And that's it. The more they panic, the more extreme measures they will take. Something like dehumanizing Russians. Who knows, and Russians are being dehumanized by American media. And yeah, that's what they do. This is the foundation on which the whole expeditionary warfare of the United States has been built about. So, and that's what I wanted to tell you today, guys. So, in conclusion, people ask me, and I already posted on my blog, you can go there, and about shoes. I guess I need to also make the video about my watches. Okay, so this is Tissot and things like that. I don't know why people want to, but I have the questions constantly from all kinds of people everywhere, even in private messages. Here's my 3 pairs of shoes, okay? It's, you see this? Yeah, I bought them in Moscow and one in St. Petersburg. This is the Zenden shoe store in Moscow in the Air Mall next to Ashan second floor. Great shoes. Soft, really nice. It's just beautiful, So there you go. If whoever goes to Moscow or St. Petersburg, go to Galleria, they have plenty of Russian shoe stores. If people who want to go and buy whatever, the Florsheim, whatever, yeah, you can do it. But these are the shoes which are produced in Russia. They're great. I wear them basically. I go to Russia primarily to buy shoes and to buy cotton socks, 100% cotton socks. So this year, probably the same. So, and this is what I wanted to tell you, guys, and this is your food for thought for this weekend. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and too. You see, this is coffee. No, this is not whiskey. This is coffee. Okay, guys, talk to you later. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.